Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great day today. I'm Chef Tucker, and today I'm going to make a beer cheese dipping sauce. So, beer cheese is a great time for Oktoberfest. It's great for game days and football parties and any sort of get-togethers. It's very simple to make. So, let's take a look at our mise en place so we can get started. We have finely minced onions, butter, flour, garlic, horseradish, mustard, Worcestershire sauce, beer, cheese, and a little bit of dairy, specifically heavy cream and milk. And that's all it takes to make a beer cheese sauce. It's very simple. It takes just a few minutes to go ahead and cook. It takes even less time to really prep. But it's something great you can just throw together so everybody can have a nice little dipping sauce, or you can even put it on some stuff, which we'll talk about later. So, with all that in mind, say we go ahead and head over to the stove and make us some beer cheese. All right, so the first thing we're going to do with our beer cheese is melt down about 3 tablespoons of butter. Then we're going to add our onion. It's going to go pretty quick. We're just looking for it to absorb a little bit of that butter. Move around some. And get a little bit translucent. Alright, so our onions are starting to caramelize, and that's about where I'm wanting them. Now I'm on a high heat, so that took me about 3 minutes. If you got it on a lower heat, it might take you a little longer. We're going to add our garlic next. Now, I like garlic, so this is a very garlic heavy amount. But if you like garlic, use the same amount. If you like a little less garlic, then use a little less garlic. And all we're looking here is for that garlic to get fragrant, because we're not looking to cook it too much with the rest of the onions. We're just getting that good garlicky scent coming off of it that's going to fill your house and make everybody hungry for a little bit more. Next thing we're going to add is our flour. We're going to start off with just a little bit, probably about half of what I had in there. Break it up, move things around, get the onions coated, and we're going to add the rest of it. See how everything's kind of just sticking together? That's how I know the flour's coated everything, and we're ready for our next step, which is the beer and beer cheese. Give it a stir. It'll start to thicken just from that little pan roux that we just made. A little onion infused roux. We're going to drop it down to a medium heat now, so it doesn't get too fast from us. Whew. Caramelized onions, garlic, and beer. Sounds like a great night to me. Gonna add a little bit more beer. So I used a darker beer, which is a lager in this case. And the type of beer you use matters. The lager is going to make it a little bit more bitter, which is what I'm looking for. I want a little bit more bitter taste. But if you use just a normal like Michelob or Bud Light or something like that, like a Pilsner, then it's going to come out a little bit sweeter than this. So just be aware of what you guys are using. But if you don't really care, use whatever beer you like. I think one of the beers that would go great in this, which I just don't have on hand at the moment, is a Guinness. But I use Yingling, because I like Yingling, so I usually have at least a can around. All right, right there where it's starting to get soupy and porridgey, we're going to add our horseradish, our mustard, and we're going to do just a touch of Worcestershire sauce. We're going to incorporate all that, get it mixed throughout the whole thing. Then we're going to add our next step. Like I said, this doesn't take a long time to prep. Takes just slightly longer just to cook. We got the mustard seeds spread out through the whole thing. Whew. Getting some nice aromatics off of the mustard and the horseradish. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add about a cup of heavy cream. And a half cup of milk, but we're going to keep that right over there just in case we need to thin it out a little bit more. Now what we got to do is bring it back up to temp so everything starts to come together and the liquid starts to thicken. Now this is meant to be kind of a stick to your bones sort of recipe. Real hearty, real full, perfect for wintertime. Just to carry you through with a little bit of heat, a little bit of deliciousness. So we want it to be on the thicker side. Which is about where it is. So now all we're waiting is for it to come up to heat. If you never had beer cheese, well, you're missing out. But if you follow this recipe, you will have beer cheese, so then you won't be missing out. Now look how, okay, it's nice and smooth, nice and creamy, nice and velvety. That's the type of consistency we're looking for right here. So now I'm looking for is for it to start to simmer a little bit, which is what it's starting to do. Now, if you've ever seen any of my other videos, or I've ever talked about cheese sauces on any of my other videos, the one thing I will say, and I will say it again, I will say it till I'm blue in the face, is when you get to a point where your cream or milk is starting to simmer and you're making a cheese sauce, you put the cheese in then, and then the big secret is to stir. And it doesn't take a frantic stir where you're like trying to whip cream. You're just needing to move everything around, because the problem that happens with a lot of people when they're making a cheese sauce is they'll put the cheese in there and then they'll just kind of swish it around and then they'll let it sit. And what happens is all that cheese that hasn't melted goes down to the bottom and starts to burn, starts to clump. It changes the flavor, and at that point, if you start to mix it in, it just doesn't infuse quite as well. So what you do is you just take your cheese, and at that point, you just got to stir. Like I said, I'm not stirring too heavy, too crazy, or anything like that. I'm just stirring enough to keep the cheese moving as the heat diffuses it and just mixes it into that dairy that we've got going in there already. Color's already changing. You can see on the outside, you can see little swirls here and there, or at least I can, that it's coming together, and it's not going to be much longer. Like I said, beer cheese is a very simple sauce. Not much work, not much effort, but a whole lot of flavor. Just keep stirring until all of the cheese has melted. And cheese, this beer cheese sauce will keep for a little while. And when you want to reheat it, just put it in a pan with a little bit of milk, because you want it to thin out, because it will start to thicken up, especially once you have it in the refrigerator. All right, now we're going to add some salt and pepper. I'm going to kill the heat because that looks about done. Sticking to everything relatively well, so that means if you're going to dip anything in it, it will stick to it, and then you're getting that beer cheese flavor all over whatever you have. Pretzel, chips, French fries. All right, so that is our beer cheese, and we're going to go ahead and move it off to the side, and we're going to keep going. All right, guys. So our beer cheese is done, and we're gonna give it a taste. I got a bagel chip. Use pretzels, use potato chips, use French fries, use whatever it takes to get this into your mouth. This is just what I had on hand, real quick and easy. It's rich, it's cheesy, it's got mustard to it. Just a whole bunch of warm, happy in your face. So this is the real reason I made the beer cheese today. I made a beer cheeseburger with a pretzel bun that's got bacon and caramelized onions on it. So wish me luck. Yep, that's exactly the amount of happy I was looking for. Well, hopefully you guys get to try this recipe. I hope you learned something. If you had a good time and you're going to make this, make sure you like, share, comment, follow, subscribe, all that great stuff. It helps me grow. And thank you for cooking with me today.